The blacksmith of Kalous ahead Akalous. In the village of Akalous lived a rich blacksmith, husband of a pretty woman. One day when the men were chatting in the square, one of them made a point of taking his wife from the blacksmith, provided that, when the time came, the others would testify in his favor. At first they considered the project insane, then ended up going along with it. The man went to the village council, to which he announced that he had heard the blacksmith repudiate his wife 3 times, according to the right. She was therefore free and he was going to marry her. Faced with the astonishment of the councillors, he offered to call witnesses. All those who had been with him in the square came to confirm what he had said. The council decreed the effective divorce. The woman had to leave and soon after the man married her. To make matters worse, we end up taking even his land away from the blacksmith. In the village lived an old woman, left alone, without a relative to live in the big house where she lived. When spring arrived, the villagers began to go down to their fields, except for the old woman who, having no one to leave the house to, lived in the village. She came one day to complain to the blacksmith, who offered to make her a lock that could be closed from the outside. At the time, doors only closed from the inside. The lock was soon made. The old woman could not contain herself with joy. The inhabitants of Akalous, seeing that the door of the old woman was closing from the outside, all came to find the blacksmith to have similar locks, which he did, taking care to keep duplicate keys each time. One day when they ran out of fire at home, the new husband asked his wife to go get some at the forge. She tried to argue that she would never have the nerve to appear before her ex-husband. In vain. He threatened her. She left. Arrived near the door of the forge, she stopped, not daring to enter. The blacksmith, seeing his shadow on the threshold, asked him to approach. "It's me," she said. "Well, come closer." She repeated, "It's me, you didn't recognize me." "I know it's you," he said. "Come in." She approached. "What do you want?" she snarled. "What stratagem are you preparing?" He answered him in verse and on the rhyme that the question itself included. "I am the servant of everyone, me the blacksmith of Akalous. My upset soul suffers trials beyond measure, but my heart is bruised and crushed. Everything mine from within, of grace saints of a morale and errors, to the weapon that I furbish men of God adapt a handle." In fact, the weapon that the blacksmith was furbishing, only the handle was missing, because for a long time, Akalous had been waging war against the neighboring village, which he himself had almost destroyed. The blacksmith went to find the enemy notables and offered to deliver Akalous to them. "What do you mean?" they asked. "That the guard that you establish each night to supervise Akalous watches my house. When you see a big fire there, take your weapons and run." One windy evening when everyone was sleeping, the blacksmith got up and, starting from one end of the village, visited all the doors that he closed from the outside. Then he took a bale of straw, put it through the skylight at the top of his house and set it on fire. A great flame rose. The enemies immediately came running. They surrounded Akalous and set fire to it from everywhere. When the flames reached the first houses, the awakened men rushed to their guns. One after another, they bumped into the heavy ash doors closed from the outside. Thus disappeared the village of Akalous. For the story, with us it is said that there were 3 survivors. A woman who went to visit her parents who lived in another village, as well as her 2 children, Mahers D. Kurik, who founded the current Igfluan village, whose 2 unique families in the village are, Atmayers and Ikrasan.